Hey guys, I'm just wearing this mask because I'm obviously working with makeup from my kit, and I'm also have the worst skin of your entire life under this mask, so I've got a bit of a 2-in-1 action here. But today I'm going to come in and do a tattoo cover, and I tried for the life of me like 10 times to try and get this right today, but I just couldn't. I'm just having one of those days where it's just not working for me. So what I'm going to do, and not everyone in the class has tattoos, so I thought I would just do a little one on my hand, which probably as assistance and sort of like when you're first starting, it's something that you'll do most commonly. And for me personally anyway, working further along in TV and film, it's something that you don't do a huge like cover for, especially for someone like an extra. It would be a team of people doing someone a main actor if the tattoo was bigger. So I'm just going to come in and do a little one. It's very common to do like little wrist ones, little finger ones for extras. So I've just drawn this on with a little felt tip pen. I've given it a good rub just to make sure that it's not going to bleed too much when I come and put my concealer on top. So it's now time for me to come and color correct this tattoo here, and the reason I'm going to color correct is the area it's not too dark, admittedly, so you probably could get away with not color correcting, to be honest, but I want to do the right thing, and because the area of my hand is quite light, so with that I'm going to come in and put a quite light concealer on top, right? What happens when we put white on top of black? We get grey, and that's what's going to happen here if I come and put a really, really light colour over something that's quite dramatically darker than my skin tone. So what I'm going to do is come in with a bit of orange just to warm up the area. I've got sort of two options here for me. I've got this really deep orange corrector and this sort of almost, I'd probably mix the two to get where I want, but I'm not going to come in with this orange here. Why do we think? It's too dark for my skin. It's way too dark. If I came and put orange all over the top of this heart, it's going to give me an orange splodge, which if the orange was there by itself, you'd probably come and color correct that. So all I'm going to do is take just, admittedly, I'm going to take a tiny bit of that orange, but mostly this color, because it's a better fit for my skin. All I want to do is warm up that area so that when I come and put my lighter concealer on top, it's not going to be anywhere near as ashy. We're not going to get that grey, we're going to get more of that beige tone, which is what we're going to be looking for. So I've just mixed up the colour that I want to use. I'm just going to come and just put it on top. Super, super easy. You could use your finger if you wanted to as well. Hopefully it doesn't bleed too much. Just going to make sure that none of the edges are too harsh. I also don't want to take it out too far. I don't want to cover the entire hand, just sort of want to keep it through there. Hopefully I can even get this right. I'm not having a great makeup day today. Just coming in again now more targeted with more product. Just sort of trying to get it right on that love heart. I've also come and put a little bit on my arm as well. I am going to give it a go, not the whole thing. I'm just going to try and cover this little circle here so you can see it on an actual tattoo. But if it doesn't make the final video, you'll know why. It's because I didn't get it right. I'm just coming in and doing the same thing that I did for my love heart. So I've mixed up concealer now that is my shade. And ideally I would be using something like Kryolan Derma Color, Derma Blend, whatever the hell it's called, something that's made for it. But today I'm going to be using Kevyn their Sensual Skin Enhancer, which is essentially just a really, really thick concealer. I use this also for my brow blocking video. I'm just going to come in, I'm taking a little bullet brush. You could use your finger again if you liked. Just coming in, pressing it on top. Making sure that my edges are really random as well. Coming in a little bit stronger now. What I should have said is that I gave this orange corrector on both my hand and here a really, really light powder, and I've just got quite a flat, dense brush for this. You could use a sponge as well. I'm going to come in and just really set that with a loose neutral powder, brushing off any excess before I come in and put that skin color concealer on there. Just so that when I come to put my skin color concealer on there, it's not going to lift that orange up. So now that I've powdered that, I'm going to come in with my skin colored concealer right over the top of where I put that orange. It feels so weird doing it left-handed. If the brush isn't working for you, you can come in with a finger. So just coming in a bit stronger now with that same concealer on the same brush. I'm just keeping it a bit closer to the actual tattoo itself now. Overall, I'm pretty happy. I'm going to come in and give it a little bit more of a powder now, making sure I'm pressing really firmly to set everything really quite strongly. You can see that with that shine gone, similar to the brow block, you can see that it's brought back some of that texture and the coverage is sort of knocked back a little bit. So I'm going to come in with one last layer of that concealer. Tiny bit more concealer, just right on top of that heart now. Make sure that you're not powdering too heavily between layers, because you'll find that the concealer will start to sort of like ball up a little bit and not look as great. So really, really fine layers between. Making sure all the edges are looking good. You can sort of see that I have a little bit of a line going on. Just want to make sure that I really pat that out. Step back from it, have a look. If you don't powder between each layer, you'll find that the concealer you're putting down will just get picked up again. You'll just keep putting down concealer, picking it up, putting it down, picking it back up. So the powder's just going to keep each of those layers held down to the skin. So I've just finished that other layer of concealer and I've just taken a little bit more in that blank hole that I had left, just so I get more even texture in that area. I am overall pretty happy with the colour. I am just going to come and put one more layer of concealer and powder down, just because I can sort of still see it. It's a tiny bit, the lines are a bit thicker and a bit darker than the one I drew in my hand, so I just want to make sure that it's fully covered. Last little bit of concealer on there. Keeping it only where I need to. The last step for this is just one last little bit of powder. They are now both at the point where I'm happy to come in and just add some more texture on top. So next step is to come in and give it a little bit more texture, because we don't want to have like perfectly smooth crazy skin. No one has that. We just want to come in and add some texture, and for this I'm going to use my alcohol palette. Let me just get this alcohol out of here. I'm going to come in, I'm going to put this really pale colour, some darker colour here, and a little bit of this sort of pink through here. But essentially what I'm going to do is sort of color correct. If you've made a little bit of a mistake as far as color go, if you're too light, obviously you can come in and flex some darker color on. If it's too warm, you can come in with a cooler tone, or if it's too cool, you can come in with some red or some sort of salmony color, just to bring that color up to where it needs to be. Today I'm pretty happy with this color on my hand. It is a tiny bit dark, so I'm just going to take some of this lighter color through here, and then just a little bit of this darker color, just to sort of help blend the rest of my hand in because my arm is a bit tanner through there. And then for the one on my arm, I'm just going to come in with a bit of this light color and then some of this sort of pinky color just to match my sort of like pinky insides of my arms. So I'm going to come in and do that now. Just a little bit of alcohol. Ooh. And I'm going to actually use a spoolie for this today. This one's just from the end of a brush, but you can use a disposable spoolie. Normally I would use something like this, but I know it's not something that a lot of people have access to. You could use a toothbrush as well, like obviously a clean sort of fresh toothbrush, not a used one. Coming in and I'm just gonna run it around in there. Just add a little bit of alcohol first. So I'm coming in now just with my alcohol. I'm gonna use this sort of mid-brown color first. I'm just getting it all up in my spoolie. I've got it on here. What I'm going to do is sort of point it to where I'm going to put it and flick the little spoolie sort of away from it. And you'll be able to feel it more than you can probably really see it, but it just is flicking little particles really randomly all over my hand. I'm not sure if you'll even be able to see it. You can sort of maybe. It's adding just a little bit of texture all over. It's just breaking up the color a bit. So I'm coming in with my really light one now. A bit more alcohol. We don't want it too alcohol-y. If we put too much on concentrated, it might sort of break down that concealer and that powder a little bit. So really roughly, it just sort of helps to break it up. It is more important on bigger tattoos, just because obviously there's more surface area to cover, and a big area of really smooth, uniform coloured skin is a dead giveaway of something not quite right. So definitely more important on a bigger tattoo, but if it's something like this on an extra, I honestly wouldn't bother with any of this. I'm going to come in with some of that pinky sort of tone now. So I could do that step for hours. I think you can get a bit carried away with how much you like to fleck, but I like to just come in, just do a little bit. I'm not sure if you can really see it. If I come closer, it's going to give away how bad this looks. But you can see a little bit of texture through there, and that's what the most important part of that process is. Just coming, giving it a bit more interest than the naked little tattoo. I really am all over the shop today, but my last step after flecking with my alcohol, then to be my last step for that process, would then be to come in with my makeup sealer. This one is a special effects sealer by Nye, called Nye Final Seal. I can't talk today. Coming and putting this in all over, not too heavily, we don't want it to run, but just enough that you can sort of see that everything's covered really well. You could use a makeup setting spray. This one just is quite a bit stronger, that's all. So just coming in and making sure that that is set really well, both with powder and a setting spray, just to ensure that it's not rubbing on anything, any of the costumes, just making sure that everything's set really well. Just quickly, you can see that it is much stronger while it's still drying because it is like quite sticky. Once this does dry, it's fully sealed in there. It's in there real good. But thank you guys for watching this video. I know it probably wasn't my best work ever. I'm just not feeling too well at the moment, but I can't wait to see you guys soon. It's not for a few weeks now, but I'm still very excited. Hope everyone does a tattoo cover today. Like I said, super quick to do. If you don't have one, just draw one on, and I can't wait to see how everyone goes. If you could upload it to OneNote or send it to me on Facebook Messenger, that would be great. I can't wait to see everybody's tattoo cover.